Your brain is not broken, it's overwhelmed. There's a difference. Every time you scroll without thinking, every time you click just to click, every time you reach for your phone the second you feel bored, your brain is being trained. Not by you, by systems designed to keep you reaching. And over time that training creates a problem, not because dopamine is bad, but because your brain has learned to expect rewards that don't require effort. And when that happens, the things that actually matter start to feel impossible. This audiobook is about reversing that. It's about understanding what's really happening inside your brain when you can't focus, when motivation feels distant, when nothing feels satisfying anymore. And it's about the practical steps that science says actually work to reset your system. Not trends, not hype, just clarity. By the time we're done, you'll understand why your brain feels the way it does. You'll know the exact timeline for recovery, and you'll have a system you can start using today, not to punish yourself, but to take back control. Let's begin. Chapter 1. What dopamine actually does. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical. That's not quite right. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It's what fires when you expect a reward, not when you get it. Your brain releases dopamine when it predicts something good is about to happen. That prediction drives you to act, to move, to seek. This is useful. It's why you get out of bed, why you work toward goals, why you feel motivated to eat, connect, achieve. But here's the problem. Your brain can't tell the difference between a reward that's real and a reward that's fake. It can't tell if the dopamine spike is coming from finishing a project or watching a 30-second video. All it knows is that something triggered the signal, and if that signal keeps firing without effort, your brain starts to expect it. That's where the trouble begins. When your brain gets used to constant stimulation with zero work, it stops responding to normal rewards. The things that used to feel satisfying now feel dull. Not because they're less valuable, but because your brain's reward system has been turned up so high that nothing else registers. You didn't break your brain, you trained it, and training can be reversed. Chapter 2. Receptor downregulation explained. Your brain has dopamine receptors. Think of them like doors. When dopamine is released, it knocks on those doors. The doors open. That's when you feel motivated, focused, alive. But if dopamine keeps knocking too often, too hard, your brain does something to protect itself. It closes some of the doors. This is called receptor downregulation. Fewer doors mean less response. Even if dopamine is still being released, there aren't enough receptors to receive it. That's why people who overstimulate their brains report feeling numb, unmotivated, disconnected. Their brains aren't producing less dopamine, they just have fewer doors open. The good news is this: receptors can grow back. Your brain can rebuild those doors, but it takes time, and it requires one thing: reducing the noise. When you stop flooding your system with easy dopamine, your brain notices. Slowly, it starts reopening the doors. Receptor sensitivity returns, motivation comes back. But this doesn't happen overnight. Research shows early signs of recovery within 2 to 4 weeks. Significant restoration happens around 90 days. Full recovery, especially after years of overstimulation, can take 12 to 17 months. That might sound long, but you're not waiting passively, you're actively rebuilding, and every week you'll notice the difference. Chapter 3. The Modern Overstimulation Trap. You're not fighting yourself, you're fighting design. Apps, platforms, algorithms, they're all built to maximize engagement. That means maximizing dopamine hits. Every notification, autoplay, endless scroll, infinite feed, it's engineered not to serve you, to keep you there, and it works. The average person checks their phone over 100 times a day, not because they need to, because the system taught them to. Every check releases a micro-hit of dopamine, even if nothing's there. The anticipation alone triggers the response, and the more you check, the more you train your brain to expect it. Social media is the most obvious culprit, but it's not the only one. Streaming services that start the next episode automatically, games that reward you every few seconds, news feeds that refresh endlessly, even productivity apps designed to give you constant feedback. All of it conditions your brain to expect stimulation without effort. Here's the test. Can you sit alone with your thoughts for 10 minutes without reaching for something? If that feels impossible, you're not weak, you're wired, and wiring can be changed. But first, you have to see it clearly. Most people never do. They blame themselves for lack of discipline when the real issue is environment. Your brain isn't failing, it's responding exactly as it was designed to. The problem is what it's responding to. Chapter 4. What a dopamine reset actually means. The term dopamine detox is everywhere, and it's mostly wrong. You're not detoxing dopamine, you're not flushing it out. Dopamine is essential. You need it. What you're doing is recalibrating. You're teaching your brain to respond to natural rewards again, to effort, to patience, to the things that actually build your life. A real reset has 3 phases: removal, replacement, reinforcement. First, you remove the high stimulation inputs, not forever, but long enough for your brain to notice. That means stepping away from the apps, the feeds, the constant content. Not as punishment, as signal. You're telling your brain, we're done training you to expect easy hits. Second, you replace those inputs with low stimulation activities. This is where most people fail. They create a void and expect motivation to magically appear. It doesn't work that way. You have to fill the space with walking, reading, sitting, thinking, activities that feel boring at first because your brain is still calibrated for noise. But boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the reset. Third, reinforcement. You build habits around natural dopamine, exercise, problem-solving, creation, connection, the things that require effort and deliver real satisfaction. These activities don't spike dopamine the way a notification does, but they sustain it. They teach your brain that reward comes from action, not passivity. This is not about becoming a monk. It's about becoming functional again. Chapter 5. The 24-hour reset protocol. You don't need a month to start seeing results. You need 1 day. A 24-hour reset won't fix everything, but it will show you what's possible. And more importantly, it will show you what's been missing. Here's how it works. For 1 full day, you remove all high dopamine inputs. No phone, no screens, no social media, no streaming, no music with lyrics, no snacking for pleasure, no stimulants unless medically necessary. This sounds extreme. It's not. It's just 1 day. And it's not deprivation, it's observation. What you do instead: move your body, walk for at least 30 minutes, sit outside, read something long form, write by hand, cook a real meal, talk to someone face to face. Let yourself be bored. That last one is the hardest and the most important. Boredom is where your brain starts reaching inward instead of outward. That's where clarity lives. Most people report the first few hours are uncomfortable, not painful, just strange, because your brain keeps reaching for the thing that's not there. But by midday, something shifts. Thoughts slow down. Attention deepens. By evening, you'll notice something you haven't felt in a while. Presence. After 24 hours, reintroduce inputs slowly. Notice what you actually need versus what you've been conditioned to want. That distinction changes everything. Chapter 6. The 90-Day Restoration Plan. If 24 hours is the wake-up call, 90 days is the rebuild. This is the window where receptor sensitivity begins to restore, where habits start to stick, where you stop feeling like you're fighting yourself and start feeling like you're working with yourself. The plan is simple. Week 1 through 4. Strict reduction of high dopamine inputs. Limit phone use to necessity. Delete apps that autoplay or infinite scroll. Set specific times for email and messages. No phone in the bedroom. No screens within 1 hour of sleep. Replace remove time with movement, reading, and rest. Week 5 through 8. Begin reintroducing moderate inputs. Use social media intentionally for 10 to 15 minutes, then close it. Watch one show, then stop. The key is control. You decide when it starts and when it ends, not the platform. During this phase, focus on building one new habit, something that requires effort, exercise, a skill, a project, something that proves to your brain that satisfaction comes from action. Week 9 through 12, stabilization. By now your brain is responding differently. Tasks feel less heavy. Focus comes easier. Motivation doesn't require convincing. This is where you lock in the system. You've retrained your baseline. Now you protect it. Not by avoiding technology, but by using it as a tool, not a reflex. 90 days sounds long until you realize you've already spent years training your brain the wrong way. 3 months to reverse it is a gift. Chapter 7. Natural dopamine restoration methods. Your brain doesn't just need less noise, it needs the right inputs. Things that trigger dopamine naturally, through effort, through rhythm, through biology. These aren't hacks. They're how your system was designed to work. Cold exposure is one of the most effective. Ice baths, cold showers, cold plunges. When your body is exposed to cold, dopamine spikes. Not in the quick, shallow way a notification does, in a sustained, meaningful way. Studies show cold exposure can increase dopamine by up to 250% for hours. And unlike artificial stimulation, this teaches resilience. Your brain learns to handle discomfort. That translates to everything else. Physical exercise is non-negotiable. Movement releases dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, but more importantly, it creates a reward that your brain recognizes as earned. You worked. You got stronger. Your brain files that away as valuable. 30 minutes of movement per day is enough. It doesn't have to be intense. Walking counts. The key is consistency. Sunlight exposure, especially in the morning. Natural light regulates your circadian rhythm, which directly impacts dopamine production. 10 to 15 minutes of morning sunlight signals to your brain that it's time to be alert, motivated, alive. No sunglasses, no screen, just light. Mindful movement, yoga, hiking, stretching, activities that combine physical engagement with mental presence. These teach your brain to focus without force, to be engaged without being stimulated. That balance is what most people have lost. You don't need all of these at once. Pick one, master it, then add another. Chapter 8. What to do when cravings hit. You will crave the noise. That's not failure. That's biology. Your brain has been wired to expect easy dopamine. When you remove it, your brain will protest. It will tell you that you're missing out, that you're bored, that nothing matters. These thoughts are not truth. They're withdrawal. Here's what you do. First, notice the craving without acting on it. Just observe. I want to check my phone. Don't judge it. Don't fight it. Just see it. Most cravings peak within 10 minutes. If you can outlast the peak, it fades. This is not willpower, it's patience. Second, redirect. Give your brain a different task. Drink water, step outside, do 10 push-ups, stretch. The goal is not distraction, it's movement. Cravings live in stillness. Motion dissolves them. Third, remind yourself why. You're not abstaining because you're supposed to. You're recalibrating because your brain deserves better, because you've seen what overstimulation does, and you've decided that clarity is worth more than comfort. Over time, cravings lose their grip, not because you become immune, but because your brain starts valuing the new rewards more than the old ones. The craving for noise gets replaced by the craving for peace, and when that happens, you've won. Chapter 9. Rebuilding focus in a distracted world. Focus is not a trait, it's a skill, and like any skill, it degrades without practice. If you've spent years training your brain to switch tasks every 30 seconds, you can't expect deep focus to return automatically. You have to rebuild it, one session at a time. Start small. 5 minutes of focused attention on one task. No switching, no checking, no multitasking. Just 5 minutes. If that feels hard, that's the point. You're measuring your baseline. Once 5 minutes feels manageable, go to 10, then 15, then 30. This is progressive overload for your attention span. Remove the option to switch. Turn off notifications. Put your phone in another room. Use apps that block access to distractions. Your environment controls your behavior more than your intentions do. Make focus the default, not the choice. Use a timer. Time boxing creates urgency. It tells your brain, for this window, we do one thing. That constraint is freeing. You're not committing to hours of focus, just this block. And when it's done, you rest. Then repeat. The goal is not to become a focus machine. The goal is to prove to yourself that you still can. Because once you know you can, everything else becomes possible. Chapter 10. Sleep, Dopamine, and Recovery. If your sleep is broken, your reset will fail. Dopamine regulation happens during sleep. That's when your brain clears waste, consolidates memory, and restores receptor sensitivity. Without quality sleep, you're trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Most people sabotage their sleep without realizing it. Screens before bed spike dopamine and blue light, both of which delay melatonin. Late-night snacking spikes insulin, which disrupts sleep architecture. Stimulants after noon linger in your system for hours. All of this adds up. You might fall asleep, but you're not recovering. Here's the protocol. No screens 1 hour before bed. If that feels impossible, use blue light filters and keep brightness low. No food 2 hours before sleep. Your body should be resting, not digesting.